פרשת ואתחנן תשפ"ה. Let's go directly in the psukim. No, sorry. It's not what I'm supposed to share. I'm supposed to share. Something is already going to be mind-boggling. I'm telling you, be ready for it. Pasha starts, ואתחנן el Hashem ba'es ההיא. Lein. Okay, Moshe Rabbeinu is telling us a little bit of a history that at that time, which was the time of the conquest of Sichon and Og, he davened to Hashem. Interestingly, Torah can't seem to be able to stop telling us about the Sichon and Og. We're going to see it later again. But the tefillah of Moshe Rabbeinu, that maybe we can learn from the words, maybe we can... No, it's not recorded. So, I mean, it took place towards the end of Parshas Chukas. But not a word, not a hint, nothing. If it's not from Moshe Rabbeinu here, we would have never known that he davened to Hashem in order to enter Eretz Yisrael. Why this I want to call it quietness from the Torah? Why is that such a huge event? Well, because maybe the Torah doesn't want to show that he's not going to be answered. His tefillah is not going to be accepted, something like this. In that case, I have a huge problem. Because people are going to say in the future, the avos, the imahos, when they daven, they were answered. That's the purpose of a tefillah, especially the tefillah of a tzaddik. Moshe Rabbeinu was not answered. Why? Because, on the outside, he looked like ayayay, chaz v'shalom. On the inside, maybe not. Hashem knows. How can Hashem, on which the Midrash said, on Moshe Rabbeinu, Hashem couldn't wait for the neshama of Moshe to return to him, so much he loved him. But the actions don't show that. You didn't accept his tefillah. You were not chas. You didn't care what people are going to think about him. But this triggers a bigger problem. People are going to say, now, you know what? Why should I daven? Moshe Rabbeinu, who was a big tzaddik, he davened 515 tefillahs, he was not answered. Me, I'm not at that level. Why should I daven? I'm anyway not going to be answered. People are going to give up on davening. And the tefillah of the koyach of the Bnei Yisrael is tefillah. Paroi knew the koyach of tefillah. When it says in the pasuk, "Vaye'anchu Bnei Yisrael min ha'avodah," this was the first time because the Mitzrim thought that they were crying because of the death of Paroi. And right away it says, Vatar shavasam el ha'eloikim. It was accepted. Nebuchadnezzar, the coward, who was a huge gibor, but a coward. When he approached the hills of Jerusalem, he told Nebuzaradan, that's how far I'm going. You go inside Jerusalem, you destroy the Beis HaMikdash. You go in. Me, I'm not going in there. Why? Because he was the general of the armies of Sancherib. And he saw HaKadosh Baruch Hu dealt with them with the stones, that came from heaven and decimated 1 million army strong. And only 5 were remaining. And at the end of the day, the children of Sancheriv killed Sancheriv. So he was shocked. But still, he wanted to. And he told Nebuzaradan, when you take the Jews, just make sure about one thing. Don't let them daven. Because if they daven, Hashem will make a miracle for them. 1 second. This guy is not straight in his head, Mamish Kushi. Within one sentence, he can have 3 opinions. You know that Hashem is going to answer the Bnei Israel. You know that Hashem only wanted to, but what's your business to mix up there? What's the hatred you have? Where is that originated from? You don't even know the Jews. You just came at them with Sancheriv, and you came at them now again. They had no beef with you. They had no wrongdoing to you. They had nothing. Why do you start with Egypt? No, that's no problem. But the fact, one thing he knew for sure, that if Israel daven, they answered. So why didn't this apply to Moshe Rabbeinu? Probably not going to have time to get there, but I'm going to point it out. And probably on Shabbos, we're going to be able to get into this. It starts, Va'etchanן el Hashem, Yud-Ke Vav-Ke, Kucha Berechu. Then he goes different way. Adnus, Malchus, Yud-Ke Vav-Ke punctuated like Elohim, with the punctuation of Elohim. Eloi. So this is the Bina. Just to show those who are not familiar with this. So Moshe Rabbeinu started with the Vav, which are the 6 meters from Chesed to Yesod. That Va'etchanן el Hashem. And then he started his davening, Malchus and Bina, mother and daughter. What is he trying to do? Why is the Torah not clear? If here there's a side had to get the tefillah accepted, please let us know clearly. We don't want to have that. We don't want to be able to extort, kavanas from a pasuk that's not clear. Why don't you tell us clearly? Because obviously here with the change of name and punctuation in the Torah, obviously there is something. And he goes, you started, well, hachiloisa, according to the Midrash, means different explanation. Is that the word tefillah? Is that the shoresh of that word? Or is lehachel? Is in order to cancel. Lo yachel devaro. He cannot transgress his words. So to be mechalel, on a neder here, that the neder that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made, the shvua that Moshe Rabbeinu should not enter at Yisrael, you already started, and there's Midrashim, Midrash Aggadah in the Yalkut Shimoni, that learned that from canceling the neder. But I think we have enough. We have plenty more than enough here. In Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, when Bnei Yisrael, he recounts and gives us some details about what happened. When the Erev Rav did, never say Bnei Yisrael did it. Bnei Yisrael didn't do it. It's the Erev Rav that did it. That's why it says Ha'am in the pasuk. So when the Erev Rav did the Egel, in order to know which one, the pasuk is not very clear, which one just kissed the Egel. Not even went to do Avodah Zarah or nothing. Moshe Rabbeinu took it, grounded it, threw it in the water, in the river, Don't you find it funny? In the middle of the midbar, another river, right? But now there is a river. That's what it says in the pasuk. Where is that river from? Not now. But again, with the midbar hagadol, v'anoira, there was no water, only the Beresh al Miriam. But when they do the eagle, there's a river. And every Ben Israel had to drink from it. And those who the lips returned gold, it was known that he kissed the eagle with his lips, and therefore he was put to death. At that point, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Rachmana litzlan, gathered to exterminate Sonei Yisrael. And he sent there 5 representatives, 5 clippers. And you're going to see that now is going to tick your ear. Every time you're going to see those words in the Torah, you're going to know that we're talking about one other thing. I remember in one shir, something. So, Ketzef, Af, Chema, Mashchis, Chara. 5 big, the head of the clippers. So you have on top, the Zohar says, we have on top the Sam and the Lily. They're the top. They're the biggest tumor. That's why when a Jew passes away, they push away all the other clippers. The body is for them. They go in the body. That's why we have tumas mace by in a body of a Jew. But a goy that died, you can touch him. You're not tummy. Because what's metame is not the dead body. What's metame is who's inside. Why do they go inside? Because they want to take the lion's share. There was a neshama inside, and this neshama is chelek eloika mimal. It's the highest level of oir. With that, they live, and they take it for them, and that's why. So now, under them are the 5 generals. Ketzef, Av, Chema, Mashchis, Chara. When Moshe Rabbeinu heard the Gzar, he knew he couldn't alone, so he went to wake up Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. He told them, your children are in big tzara, and they're facing extermination, Chalilah. So right away, they started davening. I'm going to take a shortcut here, but I'm going to show you the point I want to make out of this. Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, they took out each one klippa. They took Ketzef, Af, and Chema. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, taking the mashchis. The mashchis is above those 4. I mean, the mashchis is not equal to this. It's above them. That's why in halacha, when there's a magefa, we don't walk in the middle of the street, because that's the place where the mashchis, he wants to show now that he is in charge in the city. He rules. And in order not to bug him, because he can kill a tzaddik or a rasha. By him, there's no din. There's no person that merits or doesn't merit. For him, it is just killing. That's why we say by Ma'ariv, Vehu rachum yechaper avoin velo yashchis, for mashchis. Vehi ba le'ashiv apoi, for af. Velo yare kol chamasoi, for chema. We have mashchis af chema in Ma'ariv that we canceled right away with the davening. We're going to see what's left with the others. And Moshe stopped the Charaim. So here the 5 clippers were stopped, and the Bnei Yisrael were, because im yesh din lemata, ein din lemayla. Since Moshe took the din down there was no more din, no reason to have a din on top. And Moshe Rabbeinu, that's the reason. And who is that klipa charoin up? Is Baal Peor. And therefore Moshe Rabbeinu took it, said Hashem, and buried it in the ground. And he was buried right across from it, because every year at the anniversary of the eagle, this clipper comes up in order to be mekatreg on the Bnei Yisrael. And when he comes up and he sees the burial of Moshe Rabbeinu, right away he gets scared and gets back down. Great. We have learned a few soidas from the words of Rabbi Eliezer Aggadah. But if we really want to understand his words, we can see how the other side is working. First, you have to separate the prey from the horse. Like a lion chases, they try to push one of them out so they can attack him. So they're trying to separate us from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Once they separated us from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we are praised. We have no more strength. What is the strength of the Bnei Yisrael? Is when the Oyer Ein Sof is shining upon them. At that point, no one can start with us. If you take Ketzef, Af, and Chema together, equals 414 Oyer Ein Sof. They have a strategy. They will stop it. Oh, how do I know this is the Shoresh and the strength of the Bnei Yisrael? Because Mekar Chaim equals 414 equals Ketzef Af Chema. It is the source of life of the Bnei Yisrael. Without it, we are praised. When Balak says, Ki Rav ve'atzum hu mimenu, all the Midrashim said, hey, Bilam, if you're thinking of coming with your kishuf, forget it, stay in your place. These people, kishuf won't work. Zohar says it too. How do you read this in Rav ve'atzum? I mean, where do you see these words in the pasuk? Where did they get? Because Rav ve'atzum equals 414. What he told them is they have the Oyer Ein Sof on them. At that point, Kishuf won't touch them. Won't touch them. Like the story in the Gemara with Rabbi Hanina, this Ruach Ra went to they do Kishuf when someone walks on the ground. You take a little bit of that ground and you can make kishuf on them, it's going to affect them. Because we leave an imprint of our nefesh wherever we were. And and that was not Keter Meriri, it was, her name will come back to me. Tough klipa. So, Chanina said, you can try, it don't bother me. I mean, he realized, he thought that there was a Ruach Ra behind him. But he said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a gzera. You're not allowed to show up anymore. You have to be in the desert for the rest of your days. You're not allowed to be in a habited place. He cried and this and that. Please, how am I going to live? How am I going to eat? How am I going to do it? He told her only on Friday nights and Tuesday nights. You're allowed to come to people. Place. So we see that the Oyer Ein Sof is indeed practical. It protects from kishuf. It protected the Bnei Yisrael from the kishuf of Bilam, from the Ayin Hara of Bilam. It protects from everything. But this mashchis, what does he have in the belly? Mashchis equals 758. Torah and mitzvah. And we're going to see, I'm going to go a little bit deeper a little bit later on this, because the mashchis is a tough one. But it equals also bris oila. And we remember those words from the pasuk, Ve'shamru bnei Yisrael et hashavos lasois es hashavos edoraisam beris oila. In other words, you keep Shabbos despite the fact that the mashkis can kill a tzaddik or Rasha, but if you keep Shabbos, you have a special protection, even from the mashkis. Wow. Torah or mitzvah, and now we see also just keeping Shabbos is enough to remove the mashkis. And the last one, charoin af, equals 345 Moshe. That's what Moshe took care of it and buried it, and he became Baal Peor. And we saw that Baal Peor equals 458 in Parshas Balak, equals Sam and Nachash, the two of them. And now from now on, we're going to see these two, and we're going to understand how they operate. So a person should be on his guard and when to be on his guard. We just finished this other. We saw the korban that it was, not once, but twice. But since we did Der Achroin, we heard and we know the stories, how many times this happened, Tach and Tat, the Holocaust. I mean, name it through history, the Shas, the burning in Paris, the pogroms in Spain. I mean, name it. You have them all in front of us. The amount of suffering that Am Yisrael went through is not bearable. The Zohar HaKadosh says, and I'm going to go with you on the words because we're going to start now a path going down. We're going to go deep. How does Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, take the first pasuk of Eicha and do the Rashi Tevas. I'd rather take you right away. If you take Eicha Yashva Badad Ha'ir, you have the word Eva. Rabba Si Am Haisa Ra. Ke'almana, then the Zohar says, take the continuation of the pasuk and we do the Rashi Tevis the opposite way. Ke'almana Rabasi Bagoyim Sarasi Bamedinois Haisa Lamas. You have the first pasuk. La Lamed Hey Beshiv Vrech. Whoa. Someone is talking to the Shechina here. Someone is talking to the Malchus. This Avara, this bitter fight, this bitter, is directed to the Eshes Chayil, to the Shechina, to the Malchus. Wanted to hurt her. If we remember in the Torah, it says a very strange pasuk in Bereshis, after the Maisa of the Nachash. Ve'eva ashis beincha uven ha'isha. I want you to pay attention on these words. Ve'eva ashis. Already this word, I'm not familiar. Why did you say T10? Why didn't you say a normal word? This is not a word. This word, you're going to find it only by Yosef HaTzadik. When Hashem told Yaakov that Yosef is going to be Mashis Yado Alecha. He's going to support you. Now, Ve'eva Ashis Beincha Uven Aisha. I didn't know that the Nachash only bites women, not men. What a misogynist, not this Nachash. And then he goes, Uben Zar'acha, Uben Zar'a. Zar'acha and Zar'a, her. But not the man's. Who Yeshufecha? Roish? He will step onto your head, ve'ata teshufenu akev, and you on the heel. What a strange pasuk. Look, yeshufecha, it doesn't mean step. And teshufenu doesn't mean bite. Why is the pasuk using the same verb then if it's not exactly the way I translated it? I just gave you the image of what the pasuk means to say, but he's not saying this. So what is this pasuk here saying? Now that I brought you this, the Zohar explains that who is this ve'eva is the nachash, the sitra achra that never forgot what happened to him with the maaseh of Chava. Don't the Midrash say that when he saw the beauty of Chava, he envied it. And he was trying to find ways how to kill Adam in order to marry Chava. Interesting. This guy made plans without even asking Chava, you know, and so he is the instigator of the first huge chet that he wants to start in mamish seconds after the creation of Adam and Chava. We know the klala he's going to get. We know that his feet and his arms are going to be cut. He was eating like a man, talking in Lashon HaKodesh. No more. And he's going to be going on his belly on the ground, and everything he tastes is alpha. From there, he kept an eva to the woman. Why? Because always these Reshaim, when they get the oinesh, they victimize themselves. They can be soiser within the same sentence like Nebuchadnezzar. They have no problem about this. It's about you should not do this, but them, they're allowed to do it. He got caught by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. No shame. He has no shame. He got caught. And instead of taking and accepting his oinesh, he's going to blame his oinesh on Chava. It's because of her. Like she didn't get an oinesh, right? That he brought on her oinesh. But I show you how the crooked way of thinking, never try to think what a Rasha is thinking. It never makes sense. And from that point on, all the tsares of the Bnei Yisrael will have one signature, the Eva. He will wait patiently 800 years from the time the Bnei Yisrael entered Eretz Yisrael until the time of the Churban. 800 years he hasn't forgotten, and that's what Yirmiyah Navi says at the beginning of his words. Do you know what this is? This Churban, who instigated it, who made it? It's not Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar was inhabited by the Nachash. But it is this very Eva from the Chet HaKadmon, from the first original sin. I want to, do I need to prove it? No. But I have my way of learning also. If you take, and it's going to be a proof from the Zohar, even though it doesn't need my proofs. if you take Echa Yashva Badad equal 363 equals Hanachash. The very same one, yes. It's a proof to Yirmiyah. It's a proof. Why was it alone? Echa Yashva Badad had it Yerushalayim. The Shechina was alone because he created a period. Who? The Nachash. What it says afterward in the Pasuk, Ha'ir Rabasi Am, the city that had plenty people. This equals 1008. Equals to Bavel, Paras, Umadai, Yavan. Oh, no. Okay, now it's in Hebrew. Bavel, Paras, Umadai. We had Yavan. We have Edoim, Ve'Yishmael. As the Galuyas, he wanted to take the Bnei Yisrael, send them into Golos, because at that point, the Shechina, Bechol Tsarosam Lo Yitzar, the Shechina will always follow. And here there is a tremendous side that maybe I'll speak on it on Shabbos. Why do they always want us? I understand they have a hatred for us. But this hatred must have a logic behind it. Might have a purpose. You know, I hate to bring this in a shir. There was a famous French philosopher called Saint-Exupéry. And he has a famous saying, any action without a plan, it's only a wish. The Goyim have a plan. The Goyim know what they're after. Why do they want to trap the Shechina? Why did Mitzrayim trap the Shechina? Why in Bavel they entrapped the Shechina? Why? There is a purpose. Look how many nations went to war against us without us doing anything to them. Like Edom, Imach Shemam, these Romans, these Europeans. He came to help Iopator when Yavan asked him for help during his war with the Maccabim. He came up. Oh, he said, you know what? I like this country. I'm going to come back alone and I'm going to do what Iopator couldn't do, the son of Titus. His name was Iopator. And the Maccabim decimated them, but he said, you know what? I'm going to come back here. Look how things are done in order to entice a new nation, The side here is Yerushalayim. Because in Yerushalayim, we have the Even Shesiyah, which was right next to the Aron HaKodesh. Why do you think that these Arabs built the mosque right on the Kodesh HaKodashim, right by the Even Shesiyah? Because the Zohar says that all the Shefar from Shamayim comes down and go through on this earth through Even Shesiyah. The nation that holds the source of the Shefar, that nation rules on the whole entire world. Mitzrayim, the Midrash say they were lowly people. You know, the other nations looked at Mitzrim as a Mitzrim of, it was a nation of Avadim, they used to call them. They're from Cham, they're Avadim. Yosef went there. The Shekhinah went with him. Pharaoh realized, and we're going to see that in the Psukim. I'm not going to just give you a thing. Boom. Mitzrayim becomes the biggest nation and ruling all over earth, conquering like nothing other countries. What's the source of that strength? This is not a human strength. This is a strength that comes from the Even Shesia, from the Malchus. Because now, instead of the Shefa coming through Jerusalem to the Yidden, and then giving whatever leftovers to the other 70 nations, now we're getting the leftovers. That's why I tell you many times, whatever is Apple and the money and the other guy must, it's all should have been by the Yidden. And that's the reason, and that's the plan of the Nachash all along. But this doesn't explain the word Ashis, which I asked the question, and Ben Zar'acha u Ben Zar'a, because we haven't seen men. So what? A man can put his foot in a snake dance and he's not going to get bitten? No, we know from Yosef HaTzadik that it was a miracle that he fell in the pit where there were snakes and he didn't get bitten. Let's go back in this passage because this is the foundation of a tremendous soul. Don't know if I wrote it today, this. I made a mistake. Ve'eva Ashis. What's Ve'eva Ashis? Nachash, Nachash, Chet. You always gonna have the Nachash following the person, especially the woman, try to make them sin. That their life, that their modus, and Beincha uven Aisha is not to say that man is out of it. It's just to say at Kiyavo Yishiloi until Mashiach. Then he's gonna be killed. And the proof uben Zar'acha uben Zar'a, it's always gonna be Nachash. The two Nechashim are going to be all the time after Bnei Israel. Now, Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to fight this. Look at the first letters of Vaetchanan el Hashem ba'eis hayy. The letters are Ve'eva. Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to finish the Nachash at that point. The purpose of Moshe Rabbeinu's tefillah, because if Moshe Rabbeinu had entered Eretz Yisrael, that HaKadosh says, they would have walked in without a war and conquered the land and enter Yerushalayim Abnuya with the Beis HaMikdash already. They wouldn't have to wait. That's the power of Moshe Rabbeinu. Understanding this, it makes it even a bigger question. How can his tefillah be rejected? It's not shaykh. We are left with this lotion of Hu Yeshufecha Roish, Ve'ata Teshufeinu Akib. That's what we are left with, right? When you look at the Unkelos, extremely rarely will the Onkelos give you a drush rather than the pshat in the pasuk. But this time, he's going to give you a drush. He doesn't explain the word. He says like this. What he means, hu yeshuv pecharosh, the man will remember who you are and what you did to him at the beginning, rosh, at the beginning. But you're a tactical worker. You're going to try to make him trip. That's your only way to overpower him. Make him trip. But every time a person will see you, he will remember right away and he will have that instinct, go kill him. You will also remember what happened to you, and you're going to want him to trip in order for you to bite him. Interesting pshat. Why did the Onkelos only in that pasuk, comes out with a pshat, with the truth that's not really the pshat of the words? But he's not alone. Targum Yonasan, the Talmud of Hillel HaZaken, gives us a bigger drush. When Bnei Yisrael won't follow the mitzvahs and learn the Torah, you will be able to hit them. But when they will be following mitzvahs and Torah, my friend, run for your life, because they will crush you. Now, I want to explain a little bit. I'm never going to reach the level understanding the kavana of the Targum Yonasan, the Talmud of Hillel. I'm not going to pretend that. But a little bit of light on what he says, I think we can understand. We are Bnei Yisrael. As long as we are Bnei Yisrael, I always told you it's an adjective, not a name. As long as we are Bnei Yisrael, we are protected. What is Bnei Yisrael? The sons of Yaakov. Again, the side of this pasuk is in the word Yaakov, because Yaakov is not a name. Yaakov is Yud and Akev. Oh, you remember in the pasuk it said Akev here also, right? Let me explain. We received on Har Sinai 10 Dibros. In these 10 Dibros, there are 172 words exactly like the Akev. Yaakov. Yaakov is the combination of the 10 Dibros, but word for word. That's Yaakov. When his children follow that word for word, they're protected. But if you're missing the Yud, you only okay, you're finished. The lesson that we get from here is, at this level, there is a war. And don't pretend, nobody can pretend that his Yetzer Hara, his Satan, his Sitra Achra is dormant. He's not dormant. He's in the corner there looking for the moment to strike. That's all it is. That's the purpose of its life. And each one came here with a mission, and for that mission he has a strength, But every strength in one area is a weakness in a different area. And that's where the Satan will be. Trying to take, in order to remove the merits of the mitzvahs we have done, is going to show that we use our real strength in order to treat. How does it do? If we want to be on the defense, we have to understand his power. So the Zohar in Achremois reveals it. He brings the apostle, ve'eva ashis beincha v'na'isha, and I will install a war, a hatred between you, a fight between you and the woman. Says the Zohar Kodesh, ve'eva gematria 24, because 24 different sorts of tumas has been the nachash metame chava. Does it remind you something, this number 24? What is the shame in the Malchus? Aleph, Dalet, Nun, Yud. How many tzirufim, means how many combinations do you have in a word of 4 letters? You have 24. For those who said the tikkun with me on Shavuos, we said 24 sparim. If you take Torah, Nevim, and Ksuvim, there's 24 sparim. These are the kishutim, the makeup for the kala to go the next day under the chuppah with HaKadosh Baruch Hu in Shavuos. And each sefer, we think of a different tziruf of Aleph, Dalet, Nun, Yud. And when I'm telling you he's using the very strength, because the very strength has also in a different situation a weakness, that's what he does. And that's the proof. That's why the ve'eva, the midah keneged midah, there is ve'eva between them, to remember that it's at the one time, on one hand, it's the strength, it's the kishutim of the kala, it's the makeups and the embellishment of the kala, and at the same time, it's the tumah of the nachash. Now, with that, I would like to answer one of the questions we have asked. Okay, we're going to talk about Sichon and Og, which is going to be mentioned, but then why Ba'es Ha'hi? But it's written Hahu, right? Torah couldn't write a Yud. If you take control. If we take Ba'es Ha'hi Lamar equals 764 equals 2 times look how things are falling back on their feet, so meduyak. Because the Zohar said the Nachash was in Sichon and Og, but even more than this, according to just what we say, Bepashtus, is for the 2 Nechashim. Each Nachash is a Nachash and he has Eivot toward the person. That's why we have 2, the Nachash, as we saw before. on the thing I'll send you for Shabbos, you're going to have an extension here, how in the psukim, in the lashon of the psukim, how the Nachash was tripping Chava to say certain words and take the letters, and with that create what he wanted to create. But I don't want to go. I don't want to go in. The Megala Amuka is here as another layer and says that Moshe Rabbeinu was able to remove 9 clippers during his lifetime. But the 10th, he had a problem. You know the 10 Samemanim from the Torah. Why do we have 11? Because we have 10 bad. The 10 clippers, what do we do with the Torah? We annihilate the 10 clippers with the one that's Kaddish. Okay? So that's the reason why it's 11. One of the reasons. We mentioned many reasons. Hashem Echad, when we say Hashem Echad is 11, the Rashi Tevis Yud Aleph. So says the Megala Amukis, but really Moshe Rabbeinu, when he davened to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he had a purpose in mind. There is a klippa which is terrible for Bnei Yisrael, against which one they can do nothing. It's in human nature. It's in human nature not to be able to overcome that klippa. And that klippa is the biggest war between Bnei Yisrael and Hashem. If I remind you, one of the biggest chataim from the Erev Rav in the Midbar, they said that this bunch of liars, Zachanu es hadaga. Oh, we remember this, the fish. Sichat anilus. In Israel, they can't stop giving you sichat anilus, the perch of the Nile. I'm telling you something. If that's what they ate, this Erev Rav, they should feed them this in Gehinna. That's what they were looking for. That is terrible fish. The Zachanu Mitzrayim, they were not feeding them. They were famishing them, exactly like the Palestinians do to the holy Eviatar. We saw him Nebuch, like a Holocaust. I can't wait till HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes his revenge on these Reshaim and show us the Nekama. Nekem Nikmas, always remember, it's not because we want to avenge, because when we're going to see the true Nekama, which is the double Nekama, Nekem Nikmas B'nai Yisrael. Nekem Nikmas equals Tisha B'Av. When we're going to see the Nekama, we know Tisha B'Av is over. And remember, when we're going to conquer Gaza, it's over. Yeshua did not conquer Gaza. David HaMelech didn't conquer Gaza. But the Ramak said, when we will conquer it, it will be by Mashiach. And it's very interesting how things are turning these days. I'm not going to go into this right now, but if everyone can take it and understand for himself. So says the Megale Amuka is the biggest klippa is Chinam. Zachanu es hadaga asher noichal b'Mitzrayim Chinam. The Mitzrayim was so nice to us. Yeah. Forgot the number of lashes he got because he didn't do the bricks, how many children they had in the war. No, the boys died thrown in the Nile, drowned in the Nile. Those 300 boys shechted every day for Paro to remove its saras. They needed 300 boys a day. No. But Zachanu es hadaga asher noichal b'mitzrayim chinam. The walk, the left, the same. We have them since Erev Rav. These are Erev Rav. And what did they say when they say chinam? Are they that stupid that everybody knows that they never got anything for free? In the Chorban Beis Hamikdash, the main factor that enable, because they can have any type of weapon, they can have any type of strategy. We are, at the end of the day, the enablers or the disablers. In other words, the Bnei Yisrael, we have such a power. We're not really human and we're not really malachim, but we're in between. So when man comes at us, or subhumans, these goyim as subhumans come at us, they don't have the power to take us down. What took us down is ourselves. We saw in the words, I have the pasuk here. We saw Echa Yashva Badad Ha'ir Eva of the Nachash. But really, I want to be able to understand, because we know he can come with his Eva. We can sustain it and we can pay him back with it. So, what's the side here of this Eva? This equals to, I just had it. Did I write it? 648. Interesting. Menachem in the background. Can you check that's not Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov? Or Eloike Avraham, Eloike Yitzchak, Eloike Yaakov? Because this 648 runs in my head already quite for a little bit of time. This is Ish Echad, Ish Echad. No Achdus. Everyone was, yeah, I'm doing my avodah with Hashem. But amongst Bnei Yisrael, no. Don't mingle with you. You are Sfari, you are Ashkenazi, you are Lubavitch, you are Hasidish, you are this, you are that. Yes, okay, keep on going. Yeah, sorry, us, we Hasidish shul, and, okay, fine. So we learn in Kollel, you work, and, okay, fine. That's Ishechad. In order for the Eva to take, we have to be in Piru. And that's what shows us that's the Badad. That's why Yerushalayim also
Badad. Yaakov is 638.
638?
Yeah.
I'm not far, Menachem, sorry.
Very close.
Very close. Find me the Yud, please. Yeah. So, unbelievable. 648 touched me. Or maybe Hashem Melech, Hashem Malach, Hashem Imloch Lo'ilam Voed. Something like this. I remember there's a huge number on this 648. I'm boggling right now, not remembering it. It's okay. Now, this is exactly what happened when Yosef sent to his father. Can you imagine Yaakov is sitting 22 years, Avelus, on his son Yosef. Comes Serach, starts singing on a violin, Yosef Chai, and all of a sudden, Vatechi Ruach Yaakov Avihem. He's getting his Ruach HaKodesh because he hears such beautiful songs. She had a beautiful voice, and that's why she got a bracha to live for a very long time. And by David HaMelech, we still see her. Maybe she's alive these days. She's this height. But the brothers come in and they say, we have a very good news, Father, for you. Very good news. Yosef is alive, and he is the ruler of Mitzrayim. Yaakov doesn't budge. Do you really think the Shiftei Ka would make a joke? Did Yaakov think or suspected that his children will make a joke about such a sensitive subject? But when Yaakov came out, it says, Ul Aviv Sholach Kezois Asara Chamoiri. He sent 10 donkeys, Nois'im Mituv Mitzrayim, carrying from the best of Mitzrayim. Excuse me. Does it make a difference to you if he was Chamorim, if he was Asoinois, if he was or if he was Gemalim, if he was donkeys, camels? So why is the pasuk telling me here? It bugged me, that pasuk. When you take I don't know if I put in this pasuk or not. I did. Chamoirim nois'im. Chamoirim nois'im mituv. Mitzrayim, it's 2 mem, so it's the same. China. Yaakov was not worried if Yosef was alive or not. His son Yosef, the father of the Mashiach ben Yosef, who's going to pull in Mashiach ben David? Or did he fall in the klipa of Chinam that was in Mitzrayim? That's what they said in the Midrash. Zochanu es hadaga asher noichal b'Mitzrayim Chinam. We just had to go to the klipa and we were serving a chinami. Yes, they're saying the truth. They were getting fish. But what they sacrificed in order to have that fish, that they don't say. So this is what's happening here. Yosef is showing Chamorim mitub mitzvah. That's why the pasuk want to tell that he beat this klipa and he trapped it. Now, Father, you can come to me. That's also the same inyan about Chofshi. I wrote it in the thing, but I don't want to go into it. The time is running on me like can never finish a shir, you know. But I'm going to give you another here, the Yesod. On the Eved Ivri, it says that he's going to be for 6 years Eved, ubashvi'is yetze lachofshi china. Chofshi is another klipa. Chofshi means I don't want all malchus shamayim. Vachamushim alu b'nei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim. What vachamushim? Rashi gave a few pshatim. But here it's written like this. Without vav. Why? Vachamushim chofshi. When they came from Eretz Mitzrayim, they decided these people, the Erev Rav, they're not going to accept the Torah. That's what Chavshi is. And if you take Chavshi and Chinam together equals 496 equals Malchus. And we're not up to accept the Shechina. That's why it's dangerous to be a Eved, because you are already part in the Sitra Achra. Before I finish on the Nachash here, I want to add one question, which is a very famous Haftarah, famous Lashon, because as much as we have Tisha B'Av, we have to have the anti-Tisha B'Av by now. The Baruch Hu is going to send all the Nevi'im, first the Avos, send Moshe, Aaron, to try to console Yerushalayim, the Malchus. Going to refuse to accept appeasement from them. And they all go report to HaKadosh Baruch Hu her response. HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes to Yerushalayim and he says, I don't know how many pshatim I gave on these words. Nachamu, Nachamu Ami. Talks to the Bnei Yisrael, Knesset Yisrael. Personally, I have a big problem with these words. Why? Because when do we have a chiyuv of nichum avelim, to console someone who's avil? During his avelus. After his avelus, it's bracha levatala, right? So someone who loses a father, or a mother, you have 12 months, because the pain for a father and a mother remains for 12 months. So you do, so whether you do a bigger mitzvah if you go during the Shiva, but if you didn't know and you see an Abel and you want to be Menachem, you're an Abel, I want to do the mitzvah, right away you think in your head, I want to be Mekayim with this, the mitzvah of Nichum Avelim, huge what you're doing. And you tell him, Amakom Yenachem Eschem, what he's in the year, because you saw him saying Kaddish, huge. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes to us after we got the Mashiach. I mean, this washed out every pain. The Nekama washed out every anger, every bitterness we had. We finished with the Sodom. We finished with Amalek. We're not to be happy. Now you want to tell me? It's going to be before, right before Mashiach. Now you want to tell me that we arrived we can see the end. Moshe is here. The Dor HaMidbar already stood up. Now you want to tell me, Nachamu, Nachamu Ami? We see Moshe Rabbeinu, Kadosh Baruch Hu, with all due respect, but that would have helped when we were in Edom, where we were on the Yishmael, when they would, our blood was free in their hands and so forth in the world, when the UN was still on 6th Avenue and so forth. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to say, my children, Nachamu, Nachamu Ami. You know nothing yet about where you're going to go. That's if you take the words, if I recall well. Check me up, please, on this, because I'm working off memory. Because those who are not going to be a Shabbos, I want to give them something. Nachamu, Nachamu Ami, if I recall well, equals 980. Menachem, check it, please. I wrote it somewhere. No. Sorry. I found it. 328. I can't make a mistake with this. 328. Equal choshech. This is sarcastic. You come tell me because I don't understand what this Nachamu stands for. So at least I want to see behind it what is there. And now I find out that it's choshech. But I know something. I remember a shir. 10 times chinam, meaning the klipa with these 10 spheroids of chinam. 98 equals 980. When you take Kaddish in full, Kuf, Dalet, Shin equals 980. Whatever Gdusha a person has with this klipa, it's gone. Even if he was a Kaddish Kadashim. But one thing I see also, and here I'm going to learn something. Why did I do this one? Sorry, again, the number won't be correct, so let me correct myself. If I write choshech in full, ches, shin, and chaf equals 878. Equals Mashiach in full. Mem, Shin, Yod. Hashem says to us, Nachamu, Nachamu Ami. As big as the Cheshach was, bigger the oil that was inside it. You never stepped in. I showed you this on Har Sinai. The Mashiach has always been in the Cheshach for you to reach him. And that's what we're going to realize. That the oil is always inside the Cheshach. The fruit always has a peel to be protected. Mashiach needs protection. The Malchus needs protection. It's in the Anam. If you take these 3 letters, look, that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells the Bnei Yisrael. Tell them back, read them backward. Anam. You were only, it was a game of mirror. You could stop it any moment. The oil is in the Anam. So the Choshech is only on the outside. You fell for what your eyes see. You didn't think with your brains. But Mashiach was always out of reach. And now he's coming. Now Bnei Yisrael, with that, Bnei Yisrael are going to take a nechama. Why? Because now we opened our minds. Now we know, that it's not, it's to blame it, we're victims and everything. We are not victims. We just have hard heads. We don't learn and we don't understand that the migo chashoicha nafik nehoira. From within the choshech comes the biggest light. Vimheira beyamenu, amen. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we mamish arriving, getting there. At the end of the day, I want to finish on that conclusion. Chaz v'shalom, that the tefillah of Moshe Rabbeinu was not accepted. Tefillah of Moshe Rabbeinu was so strong that HaKadosh Baruch Hu had 2 choices. Either accept it or turn the olam in tohu vavohu. We know that he didn't return the world in tohu vavohu, so what did he do? The tefillah of Moshe Rabbeinu, says the Zohar HaKodesh, is standing every generation to protect the Bnei Yisrael from the sons of the Nachash. Who are they? The Erev Rav of every generation. Pretending to be Jews, pretending to be Froms, and the deceivers. That's where we need. Like David HaMelech says, Hashem li be'ozrai va'ani erei be'sainai. I can take care of my enemies by myself, but I need Hashem help for my friends, because I don't know who's really my friend. So Hashem should unveil them so I should know who is my friend. And these are the very people that are close to us. Sometimes they're not who they seem to be. And that's the tefillah of Moshe Rabbeinu. That was the only tefillah that was going through the ages. Le'ol me'ad til ad ki yavo Shiloh Mashiach ben David mehera b'yameinu. Amen. Chaimi, call me, please.